Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I'll be showing you some tips and tricks that I've learned using the Cricut. What I do want to say is don't rush into learning everything. I've had my Cricut for, I want to say 2 years or so, and I just learned a new feature as of today. So don't beat yourself up if you don't know how to do everything. So here I have uploaded Elmo's face, and I'm going to go through and delete each piece of his face individually and upload each one separately so that they all cut as separate pieces. So you do want to save this as a save and cut file, and then I'm going to show you how to slice through words and all of that. When looking for images, it's easy to find them on Google. You want to look for SVG files, which is what this is, or PNG. JPEGs work too, but I just always prefer PNG and SVG. PNG is better to me than SVG just because you won't have to keep going through and deleting the white background or any background that there may be around the image. SVG just helps there to be separate pieces of that image, so both work pretty well in Design Space. You can also find those files on Etsy if Google doesn't have exactly what you're looking for, but I always go to anything that's free first before I actually go into Etsy. You can sometimes find things on Pinterest as well. It just depends on exactly what it is that you are looking for. So when you start saving images that you want to use on your Cricut, it's best to have a file or a folder maybe on your desktop where you can save those and easily upload into Design Space. So here I'm just going to select all of these and insert them into Design Space. You can upload as many files into Design Space at once, but it may take a little bit longer to upload depending on how big and how many there are. So right now I'm just going to go through and change the color depending on which face part. So his face is usually red, so I'm going to try to change that to red. And then go through and change the other parts of his face to the appropriate colors. This black background is good to cut out so that you know exactly what to layer on top and where to put it. If you're doing a black shirt, let's say that this is going on a shirt. If you're doing a black shirt, you don't necessarily need that black background, but you can also put it on the shirt as well, just so that you know exactly where to layer each piece. But I'll show you what it looks like without the black background. So right now I'm going to add some font. Let's say that we're going to do birthday shirts. So right now I want to put Dad of the Birthday Boy. And I'm going to go through these fonts. Later I'm going to show you how to upload fonts into Design Space as well, and how you can find them. You always want to go to System. So let's say that you do not have the subscription that Cricut provides you for $9.99 a month. You can go to System, where it'll list everything that's free, and also it may be easier for you to find or scroll through the ones that you have downloaded. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the mouth, which is also like the black background, and then change all the letters to white. I'm just picturing this going on a black t-shirt. You can delete the eyes too, but for now I'm just going to keep them on here just so that I can see Elmo's full face. So I'm going to resize all of this. There is a sizing like cheat sheet chart that you can find on Pinterest, where it'll show you how big to make each design per size of the shirt. So if I was putting this on a men's extra large shirt, I will want it to be 10 inches wide. So I'm going to readjust the sizing, which you can find at the top of the toolbar, and resize all of it so that it'll fit once all of this gets printed out. Now I'm not going to make this, I'm just showing you guys how to do it. So I grouped it together so that it's easier to move, and I'm going to duplicate this. I'm duplicating it because I also want to create a mom shirt, and then I'll duplicate it again to make a brother shirt. It's easier to duplicate and change the letters versus having to retype everything. It saves a little time, and I just love the duplicate option. I'll just have to resize it according to the size of the t-shirt, of course. So now I've ungrouped his face so that I'm able to duplicate it and then slice through. You do want to duplicate whatever you're slicing, just because once you slice it, it will cut those edges around the face. Another thing about slicing, you can only slice 2 layers at one time. So if you try to slice more than 2, the option to slice will disappear at the bottom. You will not be able to slice more than 2. So here is contour. Whenever you slice something, you can go into contour. If there's certain pieces that are included in your slice, you can hide it so that it doesn't cut. Otherwise, basically kind of delete it off of the design space so that it doesn't cut through. So now I'm going to go through here and attach all of the words or the letters together so that it cuts as one since they're all white. And I usually will attach everything that's white, including the eyes, but as you see, the eyes are layered on top of the red, so it wouldn't look right if we cut out the eyes and then tried to put the face on. I'm also going to leave just a little bit of space in between the face and the letter, because if these are going on a black shirt, I kind of want to create that outline around the face that you would typically see around Elmo. So since the Elmo and brother isn't on top of anything, I don't need to slice it. So I'm just going to group all the letters together and attach just so that it's able to cut together. So the difference between group and attach, if you attach everything together, you'll see all of the letters together in Design Space. I'm not sure why this was off the mat. I don't know what was going on with this, but as soon as I touched it, it moved. But here is an example of how it will look attached. So if you group something together, it wouldn't be like this at all. So attach is the best option to do if you want it all to stay together so it's easier to iron on. Now, with these mats, you can move everything around as you see that I'm doing according to where you want it to be. The less mats, the better, in my opinion. So I always try to get things to fit on the mats if I can. But I also have a 12 by 24 mat. So if things are too crowded, then I'll just use that one instead. You also want to make sure that mirror is turned on when you're doing iron-on. Okay, now I'm not gonna cut the eyes out, or I wouldn't cut the eyes out if I was making the shirt, because the shirt will be black. So what I can do here is hide it. So when you click on one of the images on the mat, you will see these 3 dots. And if you click on that, you will see the option to move it, or you have the choice to actually hide it. And if you hide it, that means that it will not cut. Also here, I'm going to rearrange his face because they were overlapping. You can put them wherever you want on the mat that you think best fits you. So if you don't want to do them horizontal, you can do them vertically. Just make sure that the mirror is on and that your paper is exactly where it needs to be. Now, I don't want to do two separate mats, so I know that his nose needs to be orange. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move it to the same mat where his face is. As long as the vinyl on the mats are not overlapping and the images are not overlapping, you should be able to cut and make sure that each image is cut properly. So here you see I only have two mats now because I eliminated two of them by hiding the eyes and also moving the nose into a separate mat. Now here you can go into edit. When you choose edit after you continue, you can only move around the images on the mat, but you cannot hide the images and you cannot move it to a separate mat. You will have to go to cancel in order to do those other two options. So if you're using a different size mat, you can click on this drop down box and select which one that you prefer to use. Now let's say I am using my 12 by 24 mat and I only have this small amount of images. It will still cut. And also I have cut images on my 12 by 24 mat without actually changing it to 12 by 24. So it'll still say 12 by 12 and I'm cutting on my 12 by 24, and that's because it's bigger. But you don't want to do the opposite. Like, you don't want to change it to 12 by 12 and you actually need a 12 by 24 mat. But here you can see how much more space you have to be able to look at everything and cut everything out and kind of space it differently. So let's say you want to go back and remake a shirt after you've completed these and you only want to redo one of them. You can go in here and group each design separately, and then you can click on the eyeball that you will see in the layer and you can hide it. I do this a lot with a lot of my designs, especially if I'm selling, which I do have an Etsy shop. I will include that link in the description box. If I'm making a design for someone and they only want one design out of maybe 5 designs that I've created in that same exact design space, I will hide the other 4 and keep that one so that I'm not having to hide anything or create, 5 completely different mats when I only need one. You can also hide the eyes too if you don't want to create that mat. Okay, so let's talk about sharing projects. So I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to go into my projects. So here you'll see the share option. So you'll do add details, and then it requires you to add a picture. Of course, I don't have a picture right now, but I'm just showing you everything that you need to do in order to share it. So you'll fill out all the information at the bottom, the name, tags, description, all of that good stuff. And then your options to share it will be Facebook and also Pinterest, which is pretty good. But if you want to share it to just one person, I will show you that as well. So since I'm using the Cricut plugin, I actually have to go on the website to share the link. I haven't been on the website in forever, and I know they're getting rid of it soon, so it's really the same thing, same setup, but I do like the plugin better because I don't have to actually go into my Google Chrome or Internet Explorer and go to the actual website. So here is a design that I was just working on, and all you have to do is copy and paste the link. So if you wanted to send this to someone, you would just paste that link into maybe an email and send it that way. But let me show you how it pops up once you put it into your browser. See, it comes up as the same thing so that whoever you send it to can edit it or make it whatever it is that they want to do. So now I'm going to show you how to curve text. So if you have an image, or maybe you're not using an image and you want your words to go around in a circle, I'm going to show you how to do that. So first, of course, you will add whatever text, whatever it is that you want it to say, and you can change it to whatever font that you would like for it to say as well. I'm going to change the color of this circle so that seeing the font will be easier. So here at the top you'll see curve. It's pretty easy to use. You can pull the dial to the left or the right depending on the direction that you want the words to curve or how far you want them to curve. So here I'm just going to curve it to fit the circle, and then instead of recreating or retyping the whole text, I'm just going to, of course, duplicate all the way around and then rotate it depending on which angle it needs to be. I'm just going to make this little one a little bit smaller just to fit in here so you can see how it completes the circle. But usually you would just resize everything or get it to fit however you think. So it will actually cut out this way. So if you were to put this on a mat, you will put black paper and then, or whatever color that you want, and then it will cut out in the same circle. So now I'm going to show you another way to slice. So if you have an image where you just want to cut something off, slice is a good way to do that. The other day I was creating a t-shirt and I used a heartbeat symbol, and it was a little too long, so I used a slice tool to cut it, and I will show you exactly what I mean by that. So you can flip the images from horizontal or vertical depending on how you want it to look. I'm going to grab a square and then put it over the end of this and then slice, and it will cut off the end of this because I thought it was a little too long, and plus I kind of wanted it to repeat the same image sooner, so I'll show you. So these two images I will also weld together too, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the fonts. You see here, I was able to flip it to create more of those lines and make it a little different. And then here, I will weld it together. Now with welding, you cannot undo it. Like, you can go back, you can click the back button to undo it, but there is no option to undo welding. So you see here, I went back a couple times to be able to get rid of that welding. But if you welded something together and you save the project and try to go back into it to unweld, you will not be able to do it. You have to undo it while you're still working in that design space without exiting out of it. So I also flatten this just to show you how it turns into a cut then print file. And it's also too big to be a cut then print file. Cut then print is when you are sending an image to your printer. The size paper that goes in your printer is usually 8.5 by 11, and the Cricut only allows it to be 7.75 by 9.25. So you have to make sure you're within those measurements. You can't, trick the machine in order to get that to be bigger. And I hope that's something that they change, because if you're using an 8 by 11 paper, you can definitely fit more onto that paper than what the Cricut allows. But here's how the paper will look. Once it goes through your printer, it will create this black border around whatever image it is that's going through your printer, so that the Cricut can read where your image is actually placed. So you will send it to your printer, whatever printer that you will be using. I have an inkjet printer, so I don't usually like for the bleed to be on, because I feel like it smears, so I always turn bleed off. Most people use it. I prefer not to. You can also send as many copies through your printer as you would like to. So now I want to show you guys more about slicing. Like, if you want to slice words through an image so that the Cricut cuts those words out of that image, I really love that idea. I've done it a few times. So here I'm just going to select both the letters and the image, and then select slice, and then I can remove. So you can edit this. Once it slices, it's no longer considered like a text, so it's just a slice image. But if you want it to go, to contour and delete certain letters, you can do that too. But yeah, so now when this cuts, it will cut the heart, and then it will cut the letters through the heart. So now I want to show you how you can slice an image through another image as well. I created some business cards a while ago, which I'll show you what those look like using the slice feature. So now I'm going to go into the Cricut images. I have the subscription, which is a lot reason why a lot of these things that I have are free. Majority things are free, But there are some things that you still have to pay for, like there's Disney things that you still have to pay for. But other than that, I do think the subscription is worth it. So here I'm just going to put the flowers on the end of this, and then you'll be able to see how it'll cut off the end and what the rectangular will look like. If you wanted to keep the yellow on the rectangle, all you have to do is attach everything. And then, or you can flatten it and then you can send it through your printer to be cut that way. Like if it was a card, you could do it that way. But here, if I move the yellow, you'll see how it cut through the rectangle. I'm not sure why that image is doing that. So what I'm going to do is delete that one and then duplicate and then flip it to how it's supposed to be on that other side. As you see here, if you were to cut this, it will cut out those petals. But if you wanted to keep the yellow and layer it on top, it's best to attach both pieces so that when you go to cut it, it'll be easy to place it on whatever it is that you're putting it on. So here I'm going to go into these business cards that I created for my sister a while ago, doing the same thing that I just did now. So here are some business cards that I did. So I just created a rectangle and I put in, you know, the text right on top of it. And then I uploaded these images of her wigs. And then I sliced off side of the face and then included her logo on the front. So I just sliced off the ends and I reattached the dolls on the ends. I reattached those to the rectangle and then I flattened everything. So you would flatten it so that it would turn into a print then cut, so that I would send my cardstock or my business cards that I got through Avery through the printer. And if anybody wants to see me like do this, or like a actual tutorial on like how I created this card or whatever, then you can comment below and I'll create a separate tutorial for this. So now let's get into color sync. I don't really use this that often, but I'll show you how to use it. It's basically when you want everything in your design space to be one color. Because usually when you upload shapes into the space or designs into the space, they're all different colors. The text is usually black, but you can change it to whatever it is that you want it to be. And I'll show you how you can make everything one color without having to go into the color option. Look how cute this macaroni and cheese is. It's so freaking cute. Another tip is the select all button at the top. Instead of having to select everything separately with the shift key, it's easier to select all at the very top so that you can move it around wherever you want it to be. So now I'll show you, once you drag each one into a color, it will change. And you see in the design space how everything changed to one solid color. And now to undo this, you can't really drag it back down to where it was. You'll just have to go and press the back button in order to reverse it. So now if I want them all to be purple, I can do that too. I can just drag everything down into the desired color, and now everything on here is like purple or burgundy, whatever color that is. Okay, so let's talk about this font really quick. So you can definitely change how it looks. You can drag the arrows that are attached to the box to change the font, or you can go to the toolbar and change the font that way. You can also change the style of the font to bold, You can change it to italic. And you can also change it to writing, which is good if you are doing cards or writing on paper with the pen. This also helps with line space and letter space. So you can keep pressing these arrows to separate the letters if you want, or you can just actually put in a number. The line space is if you have more than one word in a text box. So to edit a text, you'll just double click on that word and then you can add more to it. And that same word will have that same letter spacing, but if you want to do line spacing, then you can adjust it at the top. You can, of course, also adjust the alignment. Hello isn't moving just because it's longer than the word love. So that one's moving to the center, to the left, to the right. And then you can go back into color syncing and move that to match the color. So even though it changed, you can go back and put it back to the same color that you want it to be. So I want to show you how to make stickers. Like I mentioned before, print and cut can only be like 6.75 wide. So I'm going to use this square as a background to let me know how many stickers I will be able to fit on one sheet. I want to change this to white just so that you're able to see the macaroni and cheese. And then I'm going to duplicate on this square to see how many I can fit if I were to make stickers. Of course, you're going to need sticker paper for your printer, because this will be sending through your printer first. And then after it goes through your printer, you will have to put it on your mat if you want to. You don't have to, because sometimes I don't put things back on the mat from the printer for it to cut it. Sometimes I'll just hand cut it myself, because I feel like sometimes the Cricut machine may not even recognize exactly where to cut. It might cut into the image. I've had issues like that happen before. I haven't quite mastered on how to get that to be really accurate. I know some people know how to do that, but I haven't taken the time to do it because I don't do a lot of print and cut. I mainly do a lot of iron-on. I do some permanent vinyl, but majority of the things that I do is iron-on. So as you can see here, I was able to fit 9 onto a print and cut paper. So if you send this to the printer, this is how many you will be able to cut. And what I'm going to do is I am going to flatten this. I hid the square, or you can delete it, up to you. I'm going to flatten it so that it changes to print and cut. And then when you go in to make it, it'll show you exactly how it will print on the paper. You do not need to mirror this because it's not iron-on, unless you actually want to switch around the image. So as you can see, I do not have a grid in my design space, so I'm going to show you what to go to get rid of it. So you can choose full, partial, or no grid at all. I personally prefer no grid so that I can, see everything clearly without all the lines in the back, but it's definitely optional. And then, it changes whenever you go to zoom in and out. You can change the units, you have all of these different preferences within the settings. So this little square up here, you can click on this too, and it will change the grid for you. That's definitely a little hidden trick there that I recently learned, and this whole time I had no idea, and I've had my Cricut for over 2 years. So that's a little hidden trick. And then you can also change the background. So right now the canvas is blank, so if you want it to be different and not be white, you can click on blank canvas at the bottom, and then color will appear at the top, and you can change it to whatever color you prefer. Whatever you're working on, if you want something to pop that you can't really see because the background's white or whatever the case may be, you can change your canvas to whatever color you want. You can also add the grid back in. So if you do still want to keep your grid, you can definitely still have the color and the grid together. Okay, so let's talk about welding. I only use welding when I am using text, and that's just for cursive. So if I change the font to a cursive font, I will then ungroup all the letters. So as you see here, none of these are attached, and I personally prefer, if I'm using cursive, for it to actually be attached. So I am going to ungroup all of the letters and then connect each letter individually. And then once all of these are connected and at the same height that I want them to be, I'll select all of them and then weld. The purpose of welding is so that when the Cricut is cutting this out, it will not cut each letter separately. So for example, the U and the T, it will definitely cut the end of the U over the T, and then the T over the O. Like, it'll keep cutting it as if they're individual letters versus all one. So that's a really good option for welding something together. So here I just want to show you, if you use one of the Cricut images, you will be able to change the colors, ungroup. Sometimes some of the images you may not be able to alter as much as another one, but for the most part you should be able to do this. So here I ungroup the carrot, and then as you can see, the lines within the carrot can be moved off as well. And then you can also change the color if you wanted to change the color to something else. And this is just for any image. I'm just showing you the carrot. So let's get into downloading fonts. I love fontbundles.net, and dafont.com is pretty good too. With Font Bundle, of course, there are options to pay for a font. I don't pay for them. Free fonts is at the top of this, but you do have to have an account, which the account is free. You just have to log in each time that you want to download. So I'll show you how you can put a font into your design space. So here I'm just gonna download the Victoria font. So as you see here at the bottom, it says that you need to log in to download for free. So I went ahead and logged in, and then started downloading this zip file at the bottom. So once that finished downloads, you want to double click on it and then click one of these at the bottom and then click install. So I want to show you that if you are working on a project and you download a font, it will not automatically go into Design Space. You will have to reload the Design Space in order for it to be in there. As you see, the carrot has disappeared, so just make sure before you reload, you do save your Design Space file. And since I wasn't actually using that, it's not that big of a deal, but you would hate to use something that you were working on. So now that that's reloaded, I will go into the text and the font and show you that it is now in there. So you can search for the name of the font, and there it is. Pretty easy to do. Another tip about welding that I completely forgot to mention is that once you weld something together, it also takes away the word or the text name. So in your layers, it usually tells you the text, the name of the text that you're using. But once you weld something together, you no longer see that in the layer, but I will show you how you can find out the name of the font that you are using. Because sometimes I really fall in love with the font and I may forget the name of something or the name of it. So I will show you After you weld it, you can go right over into your layer, and then right click that layer and then go all the way in the to the bottom, and right here you'll see the name. It's Victoria. It's grayed out, but it definitely tells you the name of it. Okay, so here is one of my last tips for the video, is layering different colors. So here is Susie from Rugrats. A lot of people know this character from like years ago. She has a lot of different colors going on. Her skin color, her hair color, her bows, everything. So I'm going to show you how to get all of those into Design Space. First, you want to include the outline of the image into Design Space. I remember I mentioned this with Elmo. You do want to have that background so that when the rest of that image is cut out, you're ready to iron that on, you know exactly where to put it. So if I needed to put her hair on, I know exactly where her hair is supposed to be, or her shoes, or you know, her dress, everything. As you're uploading these, it is good to rename all of the images. It is a choice too. It's not, you know, it's optional to do that, but it makes it easier to find them if you have uploaded so many different images. You do have to continuously upload the image for every color. So if there's 10 colors in the image, you have to upload it 10 times and delete everything around that color. So right now I'm going to do the actual black outline as well. This is another good thing that will help to outline all the separate colors of the image. This is the part that will go on last. So the actual outline that was in bold that showed her kind of like, you know, grayed out will go on the bottom, and then this outline of her will go on top. I also want to show you guys what happens if you save something as a print then cut and not just a cut file. You can change that in Design Space, and I will show you how to do that. So here I'm just going to delete everything and do her hair color. So now I'm just going to upload the 3 pieces that I just worked on into Design Space. So I want to stick this to the back and then put the outline on top of this. But I was confusing myself because they're both the same color. So I'm actually going to change this outline to a different color so that I'm able to see it on top of this one. So here you see how the hair says cut then print. So what you want to do is go up to the top and then click no fill. So now it is a cut file. And then you can change the color to whatever color you want. And this is just an easy way to change it to a regular cut if you accidentally saved it as a print then cut file, instead of having to go all the way back through and delete everything to resave it. So here you will see that there are 11 mats for each color. Again, like if the mats are different colors, it doesn't necessarily mean that that image will cut out to be that. It depends on what color vinyl you put on that mat. So for this, I want to change her to black. The color mats are just a good reminder for yourself to know which color paper you need. So here I changed the mat to 12 by 24 so that they both can fit on the same mat, and it'll eliminate at least one of the mats off. But typically I will at least go through and probably try to fit some things on different mats that I know for a fact what color it'll be and that I won't forget. It's always good to eliminate the mats because it will definitely save time. But thank you so much for watching. I know this video was pretty long. I hope it was helpful to all the new beginners. I really appreciate everyone tuning in for this hour or so, or maybe jumping around on the video. I hope one of the tips helped you. I hope you learned something from this video. I really enjoyed putting this together. I appreciate all the views, the likes. Please subscribe, and thank you.